26th of August. That means summer is coming to a close soon, and everyone's getting ready to go back to school if the kids already haven't, and go back, like vacation's over. It's a lot of the ends, right? So as I was in my quiet time actually yesterday with God, I got this name of a podcast, a video, where does the fight come from? Where does the fight come from? I was given, and it was more about relationships and marriage, and where does the fight come from to save it, to continue to fight for it, to believe in it, to stick it out no matter what. I'm just keep looking at my notes because I want to make sure I get everything that I was given when I received this. And it says, the power and the strength, the love and the commitment of marriage. If God puts the person in your life, you will know. You will know. You will know who that person is, because that person is going to be the one who's going to, no matter what, have your back. And in the beginning, it feels like that's every person that we date, right? If some of you don't know my story, I've been with my husband since I was 16 years old. And it has not been a cakewalk. We have had our ups and downs. We have had our ins and outs. We've had good times. We've had real ugly times. But you have to fight the fight. And sometimes the fight isn't always what you have to do. Sometimes you do have to walk away. Sometimes you do have to lay it down and say, okay, we fought, and this is not it. This is not what was meant for us, especially if something is happening where you're verbally abused or physically abused. Now, women can do that to husbands. Husbands can do that to wives. It's not just one-sided, it's both-sided. If one's infidelities, but though I have seen marriages survive infidelities, it's just how much are you going to fight, and where are you at? In conversations, I've heard people say, newly engaged or people who are getting married, and they just look at divorce as so easy, as everybody does it. If it doesn't work out, there's always divorce, or they're married 6 months, or they're married 2 years, or they're married a short amount of time, and one can live with one another before marriage, which I didn't. Most lot do today. And I'm not condemning, I'm not judging, because that is not my place. But what I'm talking about is you don't truly know who the person is until you walk through some adversity, some issues, who's going to stand tall and who's going to fight for the other one, and who's going to believe, and how much are you going to go through, And where is the fight for marriage? Where is the wills stand in better or for worse, or in sickness and in health? We forget about those vows that we take. When my husband and I were in an ugly place and we had separate bedrooms for 3 years, my biggest thing was I took a vow before God, for better or for worse, through sickness and health. And there was a lot of mental illness. There was a lot of verbal, my mouth, I could say some ugly things. And one thing I have to say is he very rarely ever spoke that way to me. I was more vicious with my mouth. He was more silent and just would walk away. And I apologize for the glare in my glasses, but I have to keep the door open because it's fairly hot in here. So when you're getting that glare, and I've tried to move around and it just doesn't work. So I'm sorry for the glare in my glasses if it's bothering anybody, because I know it's bothering me. So do you throw in the towel, or do you stand in the trenches with one another? If it's ugly, do you just like throw in the towel and say, this is it, I've had enough? I mean, I know that I've said over and over, I've had enough, I can't do another day. But in the end, the fight was still fought. The prayer was still prayed. The belief was still had. Even when we started sharing a room together, I would go to bed after. My husband would go to bed, and I would literally put my hand on his back and pray over him. And pray over our marriage and pray over us. One of us has to be the one to cover the other when the other one just doesn't have the words to cover the other. And it's not easy and it's exhausting, but when you went into it, wasn't it for better or for worse? Wasn't it for sickness and health? Or was it just for a good time, or to have this partner? Or, oh, this was funny. I heard somebody say to me, he looked good on paper. He looked really good on paper, so I married him. How? I'm still boggled when I say it, when I repeat those words that I heard from somebody. He looked really good on paper. I was getting older, I wanted children, and he looked really good. Well, guess what? There is no marriage anymore. There is no relationship. It's ugly just because he looked good on paper. People, what are you doing? Not only is the divorce affecting yourself, apologize for the ambulance going by. Sorry. Yikes, I'm sorry for that. But, quick prayer for whoever that's going for. But anyway, when you are going to marry somebody because it looks good on paper, because they have the XYZ job, they're making XYZ thousands of dollars, they have a home here and a home here, that does not make a marriage. That is not where a marriage starts. You have to have a good foundation. A really good foundation. A foundation where you can hold each other up. Not because you look good on paper. Not because she looks good in that outfit. Not because she's got a hot bod. Because I hate to tell you, friends, that stuff can be here today and gone tomorrow. One never knows. So if you're going to marry somebody because they look good on paper, or they have a hot bod, and you are marrying them because they look good on your arm, or their resume looks really good, if somebody says, what does he do, what does he own, what does he have, it's not going to last. You have to have a foundation of friendship, a foundation of loyalty, a foundation of true love, a foundation of when you can't stand up, I got you. When I can't stand up, you got me. It is not how somebody looks on paper, because that can all go away tomorrow. All of it. And most who marry because it looks good on paper, ask them how long their marriages last. Ask them, because they don't last long. And they're not on the value of for better or for worse, or for richer or for poorer, or in sickness and in health. All of those things that a marriage stands on. For instance, my great-grandparents met each other twice. The day they were introduced and the day they married. And they were in Italy, my mom's grandparents. She was 15 and he was 30. I know that raises a lot of eyebrows, because who lets their daughter marry somebody who's that much older? She married this man in fear, like, what do I do at 15 years old with a 30-year-old man? They had to build a foundation. They survived through many trials and tribulations. They had 8 children. They immigrated from Italy to America. They withstood so much adversity. even though they met each other twice, it's because they had to work, they had to build, they had to fight for what they had, and for the marriage, and for the children, and for the family. When you're marrying somebody, friends, for it looks good, he looks good on paper, or she looks good in that dress, and it's more lustful, or it's just to fill a need, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. You really need to soul search and find out who the person is and what is it that you want. Do you just want it because the contract looks good at this moment? Because if that's the case, it's not going to work. You have to be able to fight for that person regardless of, they had all of that on their resume, and one day it was gone. And you're going to have to be the one to fight with them to get back up on your feet again and move forward in it. Hang on, I have more notes. In Matthew, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So if, and most of us will say, well, God hates divorce. Well, he does hate divorce. But he also understands if the divorce is happening because of constant infidelity, or if it's happening because it's physically and emotionally abusive. He doesn't want you to live unhappily, because that's the farthest thing that he wants for you. But he also wants you to see that you're going to try to either go to therapy, meet with your pastors, or get some kind of help together to fight for it, and not just throw it away because everybody gets divorced. It doesn't work that way. Now, if the relationship is abusive physically or emotionally and therapy isn't working, then yes, it's time for that. If the children are seeing mommy or daddy being physically or emotionally abusive, that's just going to run right down the family line. And you don't want that for your children, right? You want your children to see productive, somebody who's going to fight the good fight. Our children had saw the ugly, the screaming, the yelling, the slamming of the doors, the walking out, the not speaking to one another. They have witnessed all of that. And am I proud of it? Absolutely not. Do I like it? Absolutely not. But they've also witnessed two people who have literally fought to correct, change, and save our marriage. So in return, not saying that any of that other stuff was good stuff, because it really wasn't. But they actually saw what fighting for a marriage means, and fighting for what you know and you truly believe in your heart, because of the love, right? So as in, it says, John 15:12, my command is this, to love each other as I have loved you. Now, I heard that scripture one day when we were in an ugly place, and I was like, how the heck? All the sin, all the bad things, and all the things that we have done in our lives, how does God love us that much? And how in God's name am I going to be able to do that in my marriage, where I felt like I was alone all the time, where I was just sometimes ignored? It was just not good. But today it is. Today it's a whole different story. Today it is moving forward. Today it is fighting for the love of the man. And yesterday I was out and I was like, gosh, I miss him. He's home, and I'm texting him, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm on YouTube. I'm like, well, I miss you. And he was like, just have fun. And I'm going to myself, that would not have been me 15 years ago, when we were heading for the big day, because we just couldn't get it together. And it ended up that something horrific had to happen in our family. A couple of things. Our son overdosed and my mother-in-law took her life. That we had to come together as parents, as husband and wife. Usually those things will break a family. In our family, it made us stronger. It pulled us together. We fought hard, even through the ugly, even through, my father had dementia through that time. And we lost things that meant a lot to us. Our son had overdosed. My mother-in-law took her life. It was like one thing after another, and it feels like for the last 15 years, it's been really a struggle climbing the mountain, and I'm no longer climbing the mountain. I'm talking to the mountain, and I'm kicking it to the sea, as it says, that Jesus always says that you have the power that he has, that we can move our mountains, and we can heal the sick, and we can walk on, we can do all that he did and greater. And I'm telling you, friends, that the power of belief, the power of prayer, the power of the fight is worth it. I mean, I have seen families survive infidelity. I have seen families survive horrible tragedies. And I have seen families crumble at the tiniest little whims of things. So it's all in your fight. It's all in your will. It's all in your belief. It's all in the power of your prayer. It's all allowing God to be first in your family, and then your husband and your wife, and then yourself, and then your children. We all make the mistakes, and I've done it myself, where we put our children first before all. And that's not it. God first, spouse second, yourself third, and then your children. And you're like, how do you put your children last? Well, because lo and behold, when your children are gone, who's left? You and your spouse. So if you don't take the date nights, if you don't work things out, if you don't fight the fight, once your children are gone, and how many of you see, my parents were included, 32 years of marriage, all of a sudden the kids are grown and out of the house, and they're getting divorced because they completely forgot who each other were, right? And it was over. So you have to work on the relationship between you and your spouse greater than your relationship with your children, because when your children are gone, it's just the two of you. And do you want to have the greater life with that person, or you just want to have a mediocre life, this is it, I'm stuck with them because it is what it is, I'm too old now, and blah blah blah. I've heard that all too. I'm too old now, so what's the difference? What's the difference? No, I want to hang out with my best friend. I want to be able to go on vacation with my best friend. I want to be able to go to the market with my best friend. Do we still squabble? Yeah. Do I still nag at times? Yeah. And I have to catch myself, or he'll just be like, you really need to get a grip. And so people are so different. I'm very verbal. He's not. He's very closed. So he keeps and I speak. Not very nice sometimes, but I've really curbed that. The words that used to come out of my mouth no longer come out of my mouth. Those of you that are telling each other you hate each other, and you curse at each other, and you call each other wicked names, that's speaking life over your marriage. That's speaking life over the person. That's speaking life on their human existence. As ugly as it is, that's what happens. What comes out of here, it's the double-edged sword, my friends. It can either speak life or it can speak death. And when we tell somebody we hate each other or call them horrible names, have you ever witnessed like a family that is in struggle, and you watch their children and how their children react to friends? They can either hit, they can either kick, or they can either use inappropriate words, talk inappropriately to their friends or to their siblings, or just punch each other. I witnessed it in my home. My husband saw it in his home. I saw it in my home, and we brought it to our home. And I'm so grateful that God has been healing us both and healing our marriage, that our boys are able to hear and see the way that we have fought. They've seen us separated, they have seen us at our ugly, they have seen us at our best, and they have seen what we are today. And I am so grateful for that, because that gives them the fight. That gets them what they do and do not want in a relationship. They know where they are going to build a foundation in the relationships that they have with their future spouses, to where when it gets ugly, they're not going to hit the pavement and run. And when it gets hard and the other one can't fight the fight, they can cover them and fight the fight, and the other one can cover the other one. Was it perfect? Was it the way I really wanted? Absolutely not. But it's happened, and watching us change, and watching us grow, and watching us come together, and watching us build a foundation, building a skyscraper on top of a very sturdy foundation, which sometimes seemed very weak and unstable. When push came to shove, we were able to fight through the things that we needed to fight through. Get through your child overdosing. Get through your mother-in-law taking her life. To get through those things where either could really tear you apart, or coming together to get each other through it. My father with dementia, my mom with Parkinson's disease. We have had our parents living with us from time to time to help them get through or heal or whatever they needed. And it's hard. It is hard. And we just did it because I helped take care of his mom as he helped me take care of my mom. He helped me take care of my dad when he had dementia, and I helped him with his mom. I mean, his dad's passing was different, so it wasn't that we needed to step in. He passed in Italy, so he was there, I wasn't. So, but I was able to stand tall for him when he called and gave me the news, and when he got home, and we were able to do that. That's what you need to build your relationship on. It may be ugly, it may be hard, it may be those things that you don't want to fight, it may be those things that you don't want to deal with. You may want to throw in the towel, you may want to say, forget it, I'm done, and walk out the door and never come back. I've said those words. I would just pack my bags and drive. I would want to drive until my car ran out of gas, hoping it was 6 states away. How many of you can raise your hand and say that you could have done that, and you have probably said those words, and you have probably thought about it? But are you fighting the fight? Are you getting through what you need to get through? Are you healing your trauma? I hate to say it, but another ambulance is coming, so hold steady, because I have to get through this one. Sorry. It's coming. I'm on a very busy street. I apologize for this. I'm so sorry. It'll be gone in a second. So, this is the real life of a vlog. This is a real life of sharing when you need to share. You get outside noise. It could have been car horns. It could have been anywhere. But so I also wanted to tell you that in Matthew 19:6, what God has joined together, let no one separate. No one. Don't let your parents separate you. We've walked through that. Do not let your children separate you. Do not let your job separate you. I mean, if you have to go out of town for your job, that's one thing. But if you put your job first and your marriage second, it's not going to work. If you put your children first and your marriage second, it's not going to work. If you put your parents far above your spouse, it's going to be hard and it's not going to work. So don't allow anything to come in between you that's going to separate you. We have done all the above. We have put our jobs in front of our marriage. We've put our children in front of our marriage. We've put our parents in front of our marriage. And friends, it was the hardest fight ever because we had to fight every single day to where we are here now. So you have to examine who you're going to put first. God first, then your spouse, then yourself. And I'm not saying, oh, you can't work out until you take care of your spouse. No, I can't say you can't have a girl's day or a guy's day. That's not it. But God first and then your spouse. You have to maintain that relationship because it's the two of you. Our children are only with us for a short amount of time. They're only borrowed. God gives them to us to rear, to love, to nurture, to show them the ropes, whether good, bad, or ugly. And then they're gone. They become spouses and they're on their own. And it's not our business to butt into their business, like it wasn't the business of our parents to butt into our relationship. Our job is to love them until they're able to go on their own. I have had people say, how do you just let your kids go, and if they answer, they answer, they don't, because they're adults. There's some days I can text my son or call my son and he doesn't reply until 2 days later. Obviously he was busy. Obviously he was doing something. Do I get like a little worried after a couple of days? Yeah. But most of the time he'll answer me. But I'm not going to get like screaming in his face. I have, and it got me absolutely nowhere. He didn't answer after that. But our children are only loaned to us for a certain amount of time. And then they grow and become a family of their own with their own spouse. And let me share this with you, my friends. And this is a vow that I took many years ago because I married an only child, a male child, in an Italian family. It was very difficult because I sort of took the son away. You don't have to go home with your child, husband, or wife. You don't have to eat dinner with them every night. You do not have to go to bed with them every night. So it is not your business to get involved in who they marry, unless they're being emotionally or physically abused, or if something horrific is happening. That's a different story. I will tell you that. But I made a vow because of the way that I was treated in the beginning of my marriage and my relationship with my husband, that I will never interfere with my boys' marriages. Parents, that's not our job. I have heard people say, well, I'm the mama bear and I'm going to protect my children, and this one says anything, blah, blah, blah. You know what? They have to fight their fight. They need to, if they're going to get married, if they're going to become with a spouse, or they're going to have a relationship, that is their time to learn and grow and feel their feels and figure it out. You are not the one that's supposed to step in and watch every move and dissect their relationship, because it's not your relationship, it's their relationship. So it's not yours. You need to allow them to grow and become the adults and the people that they are in their relationships. Some days it's hard because you do want to step in, and I refuse, and I do not step in my son's relationship. He's been in a relationship, and I love his girlfriend dearly. 8 years. They have had a lot of ugly moments in their 8 years. If he asks me, then I'll share. But if he doesn't ask me, I will just listen. And some days, friends, it is harder. But we need to learn that it's not our relationship. I'm not going home to their place. I'm not going home to their place. I'm not living their life. It's not my place, even if I'm a parent, because God gives us our children to nurture, to love, to bring through to adulthood. When they reach adulthood and they start making decisions on their own, it is no longer our job. We can love them, we can support them, we can be a sounding board for them, but it is not our position to go in and judge a relationship, tell them what they need to do and what they don't do, because I've screwed up my relationship many a times with my marriage, and so is my husband. Who are we to tell them? We just have to give them a foundation. We have to give them the ability to be able to work things out between the two of them. But then again, if they are being physically or emotionally abused, or if something like that's happening, then that's a different story. But on day-to-day stuff, if she's not the one that you thought he should marry, he's not the one you thought she should marry, it's not our business. My parents did not pick my husband, and his parents did not pick me. I'm fortunate that my parents truly love my husband. I had to fight for that for a while because it was wicked at times. But don't meddle in your children's relationships, moms and dads. Don't do it. It's not our business. So what God had, Matthew 19:6 is huge in marriages. What God has joined together, let no one separate. No one. Your boss, your job, your children, your parents, a mistress, or another man. No. Because he put you two together. You two have to work it out. You two have to come together. You two have to build that foundation. The minute you put your parents in between first, you're going to lose her or him. The minute you put your children and parents, I'm a parent. I know you put your children, you think you're supposed to have your children 24/7 and you're supposed to be with them 24/7. No. There has to be balance. It's not all the parents, it's not all the children. You have to find balance on where you all fit in, but you do need to make time for your marriage, for your spouse. You have to make time or you're going to lose them. I totally am an advocate for that because we did it. We put our children first. I traveled all over the country with my son's band. Where was my husband? He wasn't with me. He put his job first. He worked around the clock and was never home. He put his parents first. On some occasions, I put my parents first. And it makes for a very hard relationship when you don't have the person that you're going to bed with every night. So one sleeping on the couch or one sleeping in the spare room, one sleeping here, one sleeping there. You have to find where your common ground is and who it is that you want in your winning circle. Is it going to be your husband? Is it going to be your wife? Because in the end, your kids are going to grow and they're going to leave you home. And you are not going to be the center of their attention because somebody else is going to take that. And if you don't have that in the person that you're sharing a bed with, it's not going to work. Your parents may move down to another state because now it's too cold in your area. And then they're not in the middle and they're not the ones that you're taking care of and giving all your attention to. Are you going to be with that person that you're sharing a bed with? Or are you going to have nothing in common with them? Or you're not even going to know what they like any longer? Friends, I'm speaking from a relationship that did all the above. And when God gave me this yesterday and I was sitting there and I was like, wow. I've done all of it. And I work with people on a regular basis on who's coming first in your marriage. God first, then your spouse. And if you're not doing that, and if you're not a believer in God, maybe it's something you want to think about. Maybe you might want to meet with your pastor. Maybe you might want to meet with your elder in your church or your priest. I don't know, where your rabbi, wherever you attend your spiritual events, somebody who has the knowledge, somebody who's walked the walk, who's fought the fight. Even the ones that haven't fought the fight and they got divorced because of their reasoning and they've learned from that. or they have gotten remarried and they're fighting the fight with the new person. And I'm not saying that every marriage is going to work, but you know what? You have to build the foundation to find it. I don't care if they look good on paper. I don't care how much money they have in the bank. I don't care how many homes they own. I don't care about any of that. What you have to focus on is who they are going to be when you're in the trenches. Are they going to help you out, or are they going to leave you there and walk away? Are they going to walk away after it starts to get ugly after a couple of months? Because it can. When children come into our lives, all kinds of stuff happen. And if you're a parent, you know, all kinds of stuff. Our first son was sick for the first 3 years of his life. Respiratory issues, in and out of the hospital, stopped breathing in my arms, ambulance rides, adrenaline shots. I mean, all of that. And then my mom moved in with us in the beginning of the relationship because my parents got divorced and she needed a place to get on her feet. So you have to find what you're ready to fight for. You have to find what your foundation is. You have to make that sturdy foundation. You can't have a rocky foundation. As it says in the Bible, if somebody builds their house in sand, it's gonna wash away. If somebody builds their house on the rock, firm foundation, it's going to continue to withhold and stand all the earthquakes, because you're going to have many, all the tornadoes, because that could happen too, right? But it also can withstand the sunshine, the beauty of a day, and all of the good things. So, where are you going to build your house? Is it going to be on the sand because they look good on paper? Or is it going to be on the rock? Because they're going to put the fight in with you. They're going to jump in the trenches with you. On those days you can't cover yourself, they're going to cover you. All those nights I held my hand on my husband's back and prayed over the two of us, not knowing that he knew I was doing it, but he did. Well, he had asked me, why do you do that? And I told him I was praying over us. Now with me going to become a pastor, he supports me in that. So friends, let me ask you, where does the fight come from? Are you going to put in the fight? Are you going to stand strong? Are you going to build your house on a foundation of sand or on stone or rock? It's something to think about. If you want to reach me, in the description below, I'm going to put my email, my website. Reach out to me if you want counsel. I am here for you. I am here for the both of you. Just let me know. I've walked the walk. I fought the fight. And together we can do it. So friends, make this a great day. Stand in the trenches with the one who really's got your back, who loves you, regardless if it's said every day. Figure out where you're going to stand. You're going to stand here, here, or here. Who you're going to put first, God and your spouse, or if you're going to put your children and your family and your job in between. Build your house on a rock foundation, and you will not believe how it will turn out. Until next time, be blessed. Stay true. And remember, always look up. He's got your back.